let's take a look at the curves panel and how it works. So I need to go to my adjustments panel, and here it is already for me. In the top row, in the middle, is the curves adjustment layer icon. So let's click on that, and you get a dialog here. Notice the histogram. You've got information going all the way across. That's a good thing. Like curves, at the bottom here, the right side are my whites. If I push that, it gets real bright. And my left side are the darks. If I push that, I'm losing my dark detail. But the magic of the curve, unlike levels, is we can really adjust specific areas, the highlights, the shadows, the midtones. We can add contrast. We can take contrast away. We can also color balance like we did in levels. So you need to set your eyedroppers the same way you did before. So if you double click on the eyedropper, click, it pops open. Mine are already set. So my white is set to 247, 247, 247 in the RGB. My gray or midtone is 133, 133, 133. And my blacks are set to 777. So you want to make sure that yours read the same way, because remember, if your white is an RGB of 255, 255, 255, that's pure white, which means no ink will lay down on your paper, and that'll reduce your print quality. So we never want pure white in our image. Always pull it down. And when I say that, pull it down, over here in the curves, if I had pure white, do you see where it says output? Right now it says 0. When I click on this point and I pull this down, if I take it to an output of 250, that means a little bit of ink will lay down on my paper and give me better print quality. Notice when I did that, very little has changed in my image. So that's a good thing. But I'm going to push it back to the top. Now this curve, unlike levels, I can pick a point along the curve and pull it up, and it lightens the image, and I just made a point, and I can pull that point down and it darkens. So I'm pulling from the middle, similar to what we can do with levels. But here's the magic. If I take this back, I'm going to get rid of that point. To get rid of the point, I just click on the point and drag it off. So I can pull up and affect only the, or more affect, the highlights. Pull that point off, or come down here and more affect the darks. See how the highlights are staying the same? So I'm not affecting the whole equally. So that's one of the things here. The next thing I can do is I can create an S-curve to add contrast. So if I pull up at the top and come down here and pull down at the bottom, now I've added some contrast. So there's before, here's after. Looks a lot better, doesn't it? But I'm losing some detail there. We're going to talk about that in a second. Let me just take this and do it the opposite way. If I do a reverse S-curve, now we've pulled away contrast. So if you have an image that has too much contrast, you can make a reverse S-curve. Now, right now my points are really far apart, and that's because I have lots of information here. So if I pull those off, I can even do a little curve like this, and then I'm only really more affecting the middle points. Okay, so that's all fun and good, right? The next thing I want to show you is that you have this little hand up here with the two arrows right below where it says preset. That is your targeted adjustment tool, and this is one of the coolest things about curves. So if I don't know where to click in my image on that line, I can come over here and notice when I'm up here in the blues, I've got a little dot. It's like 3/4 of the way down the line. If I come up here to my bright white, in this area it's moved, so it's showing me where on that curve line the different points are. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to come here. I'm going to find a little bit darker point. I'm going to come here. I'm just going to drag that up a little bit. And notice it's in conjunction with that big spike. That's where most of those whites are. That's a big part of the image. Then, if I come here to this black zone, it's more dramatic, I'm going to pull this down. So I can really pinpoint the areas that I want to affect. So that's looking like a much better curve to add contrast to this image than the other one. But check it out, I'm still losing detail in this little middle guy. So I'm going to turn that back on. Just like all adjustment layers, this one comes with a built-in mask. So if I grab my brush and I paint with black, then I want to just check my options bar to make sure everything is set back to its neutrals. So a blend mode of normal, opacity 100%, and flow 100%. Now with my brush, and my mask is the active part of the layer, I can come back over here, make my brush a little bit bigger. I'm using the bracket keys on my keyboard, and I'm going to paint just with black to pull off that curve right through here. Make it a little bit smaller right over here. And I'm taking my time there. Okay, looking much better. Well, that's the basic idea behind curves. So you can lighten and darken. You can set your white point down to an RGB of 250 output. You can add contrast. You can take contrast away. You have a layer mask. It just is a ton of control. I use this tool, this layer, all the time. So give it a try.